Andy Biggs from Arizona 5. Congressman Biggs, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. I know we got a lot to go through, but I want to ask you first, give us a sense of where Arizona is right now, sir. We see that a lot of polls are coming out. There's a poll this morning from Phillips Academy, has Kerry Lake up 11 points. Blake Masters literally tied with Mark Kelly. That's even before the Libertarian threw in the towel last night and endorsed Blake Masters. What's your sense of your race, the rest of the House races, and where we stand in the Senate and the statewide races in your best judgment?
Well, I think in the House races, Arizona will be at least 6-3 and has actually a decent shot to go 7-2. So that would be taking CD4, which is the Stanton seat right now. It would be taking up north in Arizona, that's currently held by O'Halloran, and then the seat being vacated by Ann Kirkpatrick, who's retiring. So we'll go from being 4-5, 4 Republicans, 5 Ds, to being at least 6-3, plus possibly 7-2. I do think Blake's going to win. I think that the Libertarian dropped out. He was polling about 5 or 6. I think that he's going to shift about 2 or 3 over to Blake. I think that the other 2 or 3 probably won't even vote. And Kerry Lake's going to have long tails. Steve, you know that. She is doing great, and the separation between her and the Democrat is increasing daily. And I think that that bodes well for everything all the way down to the Corporation Commission, the school boards, the state legislature, all of these things that are so critical, the water board, all of that. I think long tails coming from Kerry Lake at this point.
Let me ask you on the 7-2. What's that? Give us the Andy Biggs take on that 7th seat, because that's kind of blockbuster news to go from 4-5, particularly given 2020 to 7-2. That is a massive pickup. What's that? What's the 7th seat that you're calling potentially right now?
It's Congressional District 4. That's got Tempe, West Mesa, Central Mesa. It's currently held by Greg Stanton, who's the former mayor of Phoenix, but he's been in for 4 years. But that race has moved from basically a Democrat lock till today. It is now a toss-up race. And Kelly Cooper is the Republican, wow, and he's working hard, working very, very hard as anybody in the country that I've seen this year. And with the right break, the coattails of Kerry Lake and even Blake moving in now, I would say it's an even shot that Kelly can win that.
You do know when this happens, that sends a shockwave through the Democratic Party. Look, we have a unique opportunity nationwide to shatter the Democratic Party as a national political institution, force them really into the coast and to the university towns throughout the nation. But if Arizona, if that came true, given what happened on the election night in 2020, that would be nothing short of massively historic. You agree, Congressman Biggs?
100%. It was. I was not even expecting that. If you had asked me 6 months ago, or even 30 days ago, I believed that there was a chance, an outside chance. But now I say it's even. Look, Steve, I would tell you that I think the Democrat Party is almost gone the way of the dodo already. It's been such a realignment since the Trump MAGA movement, as you know, and so now the party of the elite coastal folks is the Democrats, and the only places in the middle are going to be the big cities. Everywhere else, including the suburbs, are going to break ultimately to Republicanism, and that's because people want to be free, they want to be independent, they want to be they don't want the crazy wokeness in their kids. They want them taught well, not indoctrinated. They understand the crime. They see the gas prices. They see the inflation. They see the border wide open. They see us weak on an international stage. All the things that people don't really pay attention to are now slapping them in the face because it is so real. All these things are palpable and a part of their lives now. And while many people haven't focused on this yet, as everybody starts making the connection, I think it'll impact the Democrat Party in a way that's seismic.
See, people misread. We were deeply involved in the Youngkin situation in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm from Virginia. It was, although and people know Youngkin's not my cup of tea, but it was a combination of the populist nationalist MAGA movement with the parental rights, what I call the suburban moms and dads, many of whom, if you mention Donald Trump's name, they spit right on the floor. That
Right.
combination is 2/3 of the American people, 70% of the American people. And you have a lot of moderates, a lot of even Democrats, a lot of independents, and the parental rights are just, and also the injections are sitting there going, I call it the 3 I's, Cortez and I, inflation, immigration, and injection. They don't want to
Right.
talk about it. They're afraid of being, bothered at work. But man, that is right below the surface. That is boiling. That's why we're in play in Connecticut 2, Connecticut 5, Rhode Island 2. I mean, New England. Right now, Congressman, we could flip the entire house just with the pickups in New York State. I mean, people are like, they're freaking, the Democrats are freaking out because they've overplayed their hand so well. And I think they're going to go I think they're going to be like the Whigs before the Civil War. It's just a party that existed, was very powerful, and then went away. And remember, the Democratic Party has been around essentially since, close to the founding of the country when parties first came up. But I want to go to this thing of accountability because you and I have hung out a lot. You're a very tough hombre. We always look to you for prosecutorial opinions and investigations and things like that. The Atlantic had this article by an economist that said, hey, maybe upon further review, we should just have an amnesty on everything related to COVID-19, the lockdowns, the mask mandates, all of it. Congressman Biggs, do you have any thoughts about that? Because I know the investigation is going to be a very big part of the coming new Congress.
Yeah, Steve. First of all, we have to investigate Fauci, Birx, China relationship. The fact that we're still funding, according to some reports, gain of function elsewhere, and actually in the United States at one university. We've got to get to that. But this amnesty business is basically the left saying, hey, no harm, no foul. But there was a massive amount of harm. And I was just jotting it down while I was waiting, Steve, to come on with you. And I want you to think about that. They changed the voting rights over this. They changed our civil liberties. They shut down small business in favor of big business. They shut down churches and synagogues in favor of strip clubs and liquor stores. They told us that kids, they say, well, we didn't know much about it. Yeah, we did. We knew a lot about it. We knew that the elderly were especially vulnerable, and that's who you should protect. But instead, Cuomo in New York actually put them in more harm's way. We let these people die. People die all over the country, alone, afraid, and in despair. What are they talking about? We told kids, you can't come to school, even though we knew kids had almost no impact whatsoever from the COVID. And what do we have now? Mental illness going through kids like crazy. We've lost 2 or 3 years at least of education, and we've damaged that young generation. Look, we said, look, we're going to allow rioting and BLM and Antifa to come out and rattle our chains and scare the crap out of people and burn down buildings. But if you went to a Trump rally, you were going to be ostracized. We saw the hypocrisy of you and me being locked down, but Newsom sitting in the French laundromat, whatever that was, French laundry restaurant, and then people going on vacations, all these elected officials from the left. And we went to proxy voting. We fined members of Congress if they took off a mask on the floor, even though nobody else was on the floor. We changed the fundamentals of this country. And I don't know how soon we're going to get back our civil rights. I don't know how soon we're going to get back to this science-based knowledge that we used to have we just caved in on everything. And for them to say, oh yeah, well let's let Fauci go. He didn't do anything wrong. Let's let Birx go. They didn't do anything wrong. Let's let the people go who abused us and basically have inflicted a generation at least of harm on this country. Let's go ahead and let them go with their riches and let's not worry about it. I find that absolutely sick and offensive.
Of course, it was the Atlantic magazine, which is the intelligentsia of the left's It's the conventional wisdom from the intelligentsia of the left.
Right.
How would you go? We got a couple of minutes. How would you actually go about this in Congress? We're going to have a new Congress, and on the 14th, Judiciary and Oversight are going to have a joint press conference to lay out a framework, I think, going forward about Hunter Biden, right? Not what they've done to date, but it's really what's going forward on Hunter Biden. This is Jordan and Congressman Comer. How would you, and given the scale of what we just talked about, and clearly the Atlantic's trying to run a trial balloon, right, among even the Republican elites to say, hey, let's back off of this thing, right? Let's not get nasty. What's the framework that Andy Biggs would look at of how we proceed forward?
Well, the first thing you do is you identify the personnel that drove us off the cliff, and that would be Fauci and Birx right there. That'd be important to get to them. The CDC with their myriad up and down contradictory statements, and then what you do is you take the evidence that we have. I mean, I got thrown off TV.
So my point is, you would start with the administrative state aspect of the federal government. Absolutely. You would start there with the administrative state, the institutional, and then the people driving the institutions. And you do not a political witch hunt, but literally just let's get down and find out. Let's go, but like they did the Pearl Harbor Commission and other things. Let's get down to the bottom of this and find out exactly what went on.
Yeah, I mean that's right. So we want communications. We want to know what their objectives were, why there were so many mixed signals coming from somebody like a Dr. Fauci over masks. That's where you have to go and find out why were you not listening to studies with regard to elderly? Why were you attacking the elderly in the way you did? And why did you go to the kids when there was already active studies indicating little impact to and from and transmission from children? Why did you do these things? We have to get to the bottom of that. Not in a witch hunt fashion, because it won't be a witch hunt. This is going to be a much more reasoned and rational approach than what we saw from the crazy colleagues that we have, like in Maryland, Raskin, or the J6 committee, where they have something in mind already. I think what we have to do is say, tell us about what's gain of function. Why were we funding it? Why has that always been off limits? And why did you do it anyway? And I think that it will be incredibly revealing to the public. It's kind of going to be kind of like a church commission, or as you say, a World War II commission as well, where you look at back and you say, let's do an after action investigation, find out why, what, and then how do we never repeat?
And it makes by the way, it's educational, it's for the future, but it also holds the institutions. And by the way, you make changes on what you have to change, but it also holds institutions accountable, and it holds the people accountable if there are individuals that come out in that, and you got to do it. It's got to be a commission with the ranking. The committee's got to have a ranking member. It has to have minority counsel. Have to do the whole thing, right? Absolutely. So people can cross-examine witnesses, all that. You can't. American people can't feel this is political.
Yeah, and Steve, your witnesses would have an opportunity for counsel as well, and you do it openly and transparently. None of this behind closed door business where you hide this from the public. No, let's have it so the world can see. America's stronger for that when we do that. We're less strong when we hide stuff, but we're much stronger when we open it up.